All right, everybody, welcome back. Hi, friends of the outreach. It is 12:01 on my clock, so I guess I'll just take a little minute, let people continue to get onto the live stream here. Want to say a huge thank you to my good friend Hobo Dave. I hope you're tuning in, brother. We love your tunes. Thank you for sending me this in the mail. I love cassettes too. So today is outreach number 9, which is insane. Never really thought we would get this far. Thought YouTube would shut it down, or just technologically we'd combust. But here we are, and I'm super excited to say that today's gonna rock. Every day is gonna rock. They're all different. They've all been amazing. If you are tuning in for the first time today, make sure to go back onto the YouTube. You can kind of click through the link that you're watching now, and you can watch Nathan Fletcher's, which was amazing, Shane Dorian, which was amazing, and Damien Hobgood. So that first week that kind of went off the grid is for the underground core, which I do want to say a huge thank you. I've had so many people reaching out, showing me their collections, which I just can't get enough of. So I guess on that note, I wanted to share kind of a text message that came through a while ago that sort of got me fired up to do this from Taylor Knox. And so I'm going to see if you guys can listen to this. He's our intro today.
Because I know that you guys like the VHS. Well, I'm going to take you into what I would call the honey hole. You have to go through a secret door. Hold on. Coming through, guys. Look out. And we reappear. And we're into this backwoods here. I'll let you guys see. Oh, yeah. Right there, searching for Tom Curran, boys. Shaped me.
I love it. Yes. So I just wanted to say that it made me laugh, literally, and it still does when I watch it. Of course, just thanks to TK for sending me that. But also, if you have a collection, send it to me. Send me a video of you with your collection. I want to see. Nathan Hedge sent us another really classic one that I'll show maybe tomorrow or something. But I'll show whoever sends me the most hilarious video. Just tag me on my Instagram and I'll film it or somehow figure it out. We're learning here so fast on the outreach, and I would love to share that because I just think it's a cool thing. It sets the mood. Everybody loves the VHSs. It basically connects us to kind of growing up. I mean, the things we love about surfing, the people we identify with, and today is an incredibly fun day to pick the mind of one of the masters. Definitely had a huge influence on me and my brothers. Taylor Steele, I don't even know how many movies he made that were beyond iconic. I'm just thinking Good Times the Show, Loose Change, Hit and Run, Sipping Jet Streams. I mean, it's huge, and his influence has been for decades. So I reached out to him randomly. He said he was down because he's a legend, and I am just going to FaceTime him. I'm going to see, we'll hit him up. I do want to say that today as well, I want to celebrate that we can't really announce what the second video is, but that second video I didn't have a hard copy of. And I reached out to a good friend Elliot at Steady State Coffee right here in Carlsbad, and he had it. So I went and did the mailbox pickup yesterday. So big thank you to Elliot for the video today and the cup of coffee every day. Let's see here. I will give Taylor Steele a call because that's kind of the funnest part of these shows is just these FaceTimes, and the beginning of them is just genius. Okay, so we're good. The stream is up. Just like that. Bam. FaceTiming Taylor Steele. Never done that before in my life. Big day. Huge day.
Hello.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Hey, I want to show you here because you'll probably appreciate this. This is the rig that I'm using for all these shows.
Classic. How you do it? How you link that into your computer?
I honestly would love to tell you how if I knew exactly how I was doing that, I would tell you, but it's like an encoder. I don't know. Have you ever worked with one of those?
No.
It's like a low-grade webcast, if you could imagine that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's been super fun though.
I should grab my camera.
Oh yeah, bring it out, bust it out. I'm getting you all dialed up here, Taylor, so we can get a clear vision.
Okay. And should I change the profile sizing, or what's this?
I think you're good, man. Oh, geez Louise, what is that?
This is what I shot, I think Momentum 2 through Good Times with. It's the Canon XL1.
What?
So
what does that shoot to? Is that DV?
Yeah, it's DV. It's mini DV tapes.
Oh my gosh.
There's a tape in there. It's probably some good clips that I never downloaded.
Dude, Ross Williams is still like tripping on those clips that he didn't have in his section.
It's probably there. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a crazy big collection of kind of DVs and VHSs and stuff?
Yeah, I sort of save everything. I'm sort of a pack rat, and I have a storage unit in Oceanside that just is filled with tapes and like old cameras and movie posters and all these things that we sort of created. And when they made that documentary, the guys just showed up at my studio, or I mean at my warehouse, and just like grabbed it all and loaded it in their car and drove off.
What? That you must have been panicking. Like,
well, I don't even know what's on it, so I don't know. I wasn't stressed on it. And then they downloaded it all for me, so I have all these like raw sessions on there that are just like, it would be like 100 hours of just like footage that it's just like the whole session. So one day when we go through all the movies on Momentum Files, we'll just start like just showing raw sessions and like keep that going.
Who does the Momentum Files?
Nathan Myers has been tackling that. So now he's doing Surfer's Journal, so I don't know what the status of it.
Yeah, Nate, man, I just read that article that he had on the Drifter in, I don't know if it's the latest Surfer's Journal, but that was a phenomenal article. Yeah,
the behind the scenes on that one is very, it's like the heart of darkness of like surf movies. It's like, it's such a crazy movie, super ambitious, but like so much happened. People getting the lyrics. It's all in that article, but it was just like a crazy time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's funny because as the viewer or the consumer, I never knew the backstories on that, and it was like I don't know if I didn't connect with the Drifter, but I just didn't know that there was that much depth to that time in Rob's life. I was tripping. It's such a good article.
Yeah, like it was an interesting thing as a filmmaker to want to make a film that tells more of that personal side, but then also being conscious of sort of like what the end result would be for Rob.
Yeah.
And so there is like a conflicting thing as a filmmaker to sort of make it super dynamic and make it super powerful, but that might have not been the best thing for Rob at that time. So Anne Hurley didn't necessarily want that, and so in the end of the day, I chose what's best for Rob than probably what was best for the film at that stage.
But you had known Rob for a really long time to that point, right? Like, when was the first time you met Rob?
He was probably 12 and I was 13 when we started filming.
Oh my gosh. What? Are you serious? That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we surfed the same spot at Seaside, and I would just film. I got a video camera from my parents, and I just film. Me and my friends would wear our wetsuit and like do half-hour sessions and do rotate.
Uh-huh.
So there'd be like two friends would be in the water, and then you just rotate, and so you'd have an hour session, and then. But Rob was like smaller and not part of that circle, and we just film him. And so as we got more and more clips, we just started showing them, and that's how we sort of connected.
I think it's in Drifting, like his Grom section is the most iconic style. It's like this little widget, like forehand, like wing, wing, wing. It's so good to watch.
Yeah, like he used to be a little bit more spastic, but he'd do 1,000 turns, and then like it just smoothed out as he got older. And
So is that, because I do have to ask, and I will give reference point here, because I asked Kelly what his top 5 favorite movies are, and Seaside and Beyond is like whatever third on his list. Is that Seaside and Beyond years, or what is Seaside and Beyond?
Who said that?
Kelly Slater, the GOAT.
I think he just said that so that he could have a random movie that no one sees. But yeah, that's I made that one for my high school senior project, and like for video productions, I had a independent video production, so I made that film, and yeah, it was a hobby.
So that predates Poor Specimen days, huh?
It's actually a Poor Specimen started at the same time when I was like 13. I was already like making logos and like drawing graphics for it. It wasn't a company. It was like sort of just like, I was calling it a production company just to, I don't know why.
Holy cow.
I guess I always had that mindset of, just made it look a little bit more professional than it was,
What? Yeah, that's sick. Like almost have a veil up. Like, oh no, we're a production company here. So
That's right.
But that's crazy. So when you were 13, you were already kind of dialing up, even just mentally thinking like, hey, I want to make videos and produce things.
Yeah, but it wasn't to do it as a career. It was just, I just enjoyed doing it. Like the name even Poor Specimen came from my dad was always worried about me not really having any motivation. And so he's like, come on, Poor Specimen, get off the couch, go do something, or whatever. He would say that. And so like for me, I wasn't really that like into school or a lot of things, but when it came to videos, I was like super into it.
So
and there was no career back then for that.
But I was going to ask you right then, that makes me think of literally Loose Change, are you Rob Machado? Like where your dad's like, or the guy says, get a job, or you're coming to work at the trophy store with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal story in Loose Change.
Dude, that's epic. Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah. So how's this work? Are you going to show a movie or like, have you already showed it?
No, so this kind of works like, it's been so far, like this is really cool because we have a double feature and you're live right now and actually the viewers don't know what the second movie is. I told them it'll be Loose Change. So I just like to have a talk and then it gives so much depth to these movies that we're about to watch. And then I don't know if you've seen any of the clips, but I basically film like my little 12-inch weird VHS TV. And so it gives like a full texture to it. But I mean, even that is such a good example how I didn't know Poor Specimens started that early, but also that Rob, that storyline has been so on my mind a lot. It's like, I don't even know how you were able to build out that story of Loose Change, but it's hilarious that sort of is maybe Poor Specimen. That's your dad telling you,
Yeah, well, sort of to backdate a little bit, like Momentum and Momentum 2 and Focus, like I did everything, like, not music, but just everything else, like edited it, filmed it, and did that as a solo thing. And then I hired like Pete Santa Maria, rookie, and then he helped with Good Times. Then I hired Tom Rulan, who helped on the show, and I started building more people in it. Loose Change was then like I added more people to help on those shoots, and I did a 3-day shoot. But I tapped into the Malloy brothers, not the surfers, but the filmmakers. Yeah. Emmett and Brendan. And Brendan's a great writer, and so he helped write the story of Loose Change. And then we had Emmett came down and helped me direct it on the day of. And then Jack Johnson actually filmed a lot of the skits. So it was like when Jack Johnson got right out of film school before his music stuff, he was like wanting to be a filmmaker, and he was excited to shoot with film and shoot stuff. So he shot a lot of the stuff as well.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a whole lot of info right there. Well, to give back story, because you always see Emmett Malloy and Brendan Malloy, but there's not 5 brothers, is there?
No. So the surfing Malloys are, they're up in Ventura, and we all know them. And then Emmett and Brendan are in LA, and they're first cousins. And we started working together. Emmett was doing trailer editing. He would edit trailers for all the big films. And Brendan was writing some sort of like script to those trailers. I think they're working in the same office, doing different stuff, nothing related to surfing. And then when I started doing the signature series, I started with Drifting, and then I did All for One.
Oh my
and
goodness!
helped with edit that one. and that was sort of like his stepping stone into doing films. And so we edited for the Surfing Malloys, and then he met Jack, and then so that's sort of how I got connected to them.
Did you ever have a profile film that you wish you had made? Kind of one of your surfers in the movies that you really always.
Yeah. Well, me and Kelly were talking about doing one for a long time. Like that was sort of one we would just always sort of like figure out. We've had so many different ideas. Some like ideas from having different directors direct different segments of it, and I would just sort of coordinate it all, or having these themes intertwined. We've been talking about it for probably 20 years. So.
I don't want to bounce around, but that idea of people directing and having different sections within something kind of makes me think of the Intersection days, which was a complete game changer for not just filmers, but surfers as well. It was the first time I ever thought about how to make an edit, because you kind of had to like American Idol yourself to get picked, and you're like, oh, like what do people want to see with this footage? And where did that idea come from?
Like throughout my sort of filmmaking stages, I would get sort of bored with one style and want to try to do something different. But I always loved that section-based films. I thought that was like a really great way to show the best performance. And I just saw it disappearing towards more artsy films and more like travel-based films. And I wanted that to stay alive. So I knew that I didn't have the energy or the bandwidth to do it. So it was a way to sort of like keep that going.
You kind of, when you came onto the scene with your movies and section-based stuff, because you would have been right under guys like Jack McCoy, right, and Sonny Miller, which were not really realistically section-based. Kind of where was that inspiration coming from?
So like the two big ones that I was super fired up on when I was in junior high and early high school years were Chris Bystrom's Beyond Blazing Boards.
Oh yeah.
Like that one's a legendary film with awesome music. Well, there's more. Billabong films back then, Pump and Strange Desires. I think it's called
Strange Desires is the
Filthy Habits.
Filthy Habits. Yeah, Strange Desires is the Martin Potter one.
Yeah, no, I was thinking Filthy Habits and Pump, and then but the biggest one was Wave Warriors, and the Wave Warriors series was all section based, and that I think the first ones were done by Brian Bleak.
No way, that's so crazy. I didn't know that, because he did 110 240 as well, and I was like, I know I recognize this name. Wow.
Yeah.
What?
So he did those ones, and then they sort of took on their own life after the after 4, I think. But like he did the first couple at least and sort of set up that formula. And that formula is what I love. I fell in love with the Archie segment and Wave Warriors 3. That was on repeat like every time I go surf.
How sick is the intermission part where it's like right in the middle of a section, it's like break for intermission, and then back.
Yeah.
It's like what?
And they were stretching footage. As a filmmaker, you'd see that they didn't maybe have enough footage of lifestyle stuff, so they just kept cutting the same sort of stuff, but they made it work. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it has such a texture. I've been watching those a lot lately and realizing that Dibby's art is all over all of it.
Yeah. Like those were the huge ones for me, and that sort of set that template up. That I sort of just sort of kept going, I guess.
So was there ever any, I don't want to say weird energy, but honestly, the people who are cinematographers, it's like a coalition. But when you came onto the scene, were those guys that you were looking up to were pretty, I don't know, like, I mean, Pump, Green Iguana, Jack McCoy's stuff. Was there ever any, I don't know, weird vibes that you were fresh on the scene or something?
Yeah, there definitely was. So like Green Iguana came out the same month that Momentum came out. Oh. And since Billabong, I was friends with Bob Hurley, I met Bob Hurley via Shane and Ross. That we did like a Hawaii showing of both films, like back to back, and like it was super like it was tense because like it was a younger audience watching the film, and like it was the attention span was more focused, I guess, on Momentum.
Yeah.
Green Iguana at the time. And so that carried over. Like I actually asked Jack McCoy to sort of like have him as a mentor and like learn from him. But all these interviews kept coming out of him just sort of writing off my filmmaking.
No.
And like I like at that stage I'm like 18 and super, you know, like introvert, and my films were basically like, you know, an extension of me, and so I would get super sensitive with it.
Oh my! So what happened? Like, did you have to like?
I basically like just sort of you know, cut that off and just sort of like used it as sort of like motivation.
But you guys, for sure, in the long run, were able to kind of become friends, right? Or maybe
tension, like on his side. Like, it was, yeah. But like, it's taken a long time, which is. So.
Well, yeah, it's funny because you want to get different angles, even. Definitely in there.
And back then it was a different world. There was. Back then, certain movies was like you know, it was.
Worked under you, is that correct? For a little while there.
With purchase, but then like who recommended him? I think it was and have him as a filmer, and so he filmed for Trilogy and some of these earlier movies that he really took like a big like lead on was Stranger Than Fiction.
Oh, cool.
And so he filmed a lot of that, and he edited it, and definitely chose the music and really stylized it. He didn't really like the skits, so like I would have to force the skits into it. He wanted just the surfing, but Stranger Than Fiction was like so quick with the skits, it wasn't as much.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like, then he went from there, and he did Modern Collective under our company, and then he naturally branched off. Like. Matt Bouchane came through, Poor Specimen, and Joe G. You know, like a lot of, like I feel like, you know, like I like to support filmmakers and help them, and Intersection was sort of a extension of that.
That's rad. It's almost like the University of Poor Specimens, dude. You're like the dean on campus. That's lit. But that's crazy, Kai. I mean, I really reflect. Kai for us was, I mean, even like what I would imagine, like Shano and Kelly. For you, you know, because he was so cutting edge with his stuff. But it's funny that he wouldn't have been down for the acting. Like, where did that even come about? Because it's first in the show, right?
Yeah. Let's see. The show we went a little bit further with it. This, I guess, like those things evolved from like Focus. Really, we're doing those little like intermission things, you know, like where like. Greg Browning's in the dryer, and everybody started doing something to break it up. It came about two ways. One was, I feel like everybody was sort of taking it so seriously. You know, like it was starting to get a little too intense. Of like, I don't know. I like surfing to still have a fun feel to it. You know, and so it was a way to sort of like make it fun and sort of lighten it up. And then I was just a big fan of Spike Jonze, and Spike Jonze kept doing these skits for skater films.
Oh yeah, wow!
So like the Chocolate had a bunch of good ones, and Girl skate films. And so like I was just sort of like riffing off that skate world and trying to bring that to surfing.
Dude, that's really rad. That's a cool place for inspiration to come from.
Yeah. So. And then they just sort of evolved, and then Loose Change sort of came from that sort of evolution of this show and all that.
I wonder too if for you if it was really a good way to learn kind of a production of a moment, because now you're doing a lot of really in-depth kind of stuff. Do you feel like it was a good way to start?
Yeah, like I guess like basically like shooting surfing on the beach it could just be, like a 9 to 5 sort of job. It could be just sort of like monotonous. And in the edit room, you get more creative. But then even there, you start to, it's all surfing's leading everything. And it's not so much like the filmmaker sort of getting to have a fingerprint. So it was a way for me to sort of improve my filmmaking side of it. And, like also just sort of like think ahead, like where's my future going to go? What do I want to do as a filmmaker? And sort of like start planting that seeds for making, films and commercials and all that.
That was a huge question that I wanted to ask you is basically, I have a ton of friends who are filming now. We're around the same age or younger. And I imagine it's got to be a way different landscape to become a cinematographer nowadays in surfing than it was back then. Because you could hit the road with VHSs in your car versus now it's like how everything is shared. What would you say is a good tip for somebody coming up?
It depends on their goal, but I would say, like the beauty of it is people will see it if it's good. So like use it as a way to get commercials or other stuff, because a lot of these creative directors are just looking online and sort of seeing what's sort of trending, and they'll find directors that way. So on that side of it, there's a lot of opportunities. You just have to get creative. Like you're not selling the same amount of VHS units, but if you want to do it, there's always creative ways of sort of merging product placement and just maybe even YouTube views. I think there's like, I don't have that business model for making surf films anymore, but I know there's a way to do it.
So are you thinking you'd ever come back and just send it and just go one last hardcore surf action film?
You know what? I have. I'm just gonna throw it out there, so maybe I don't have to do it. But I have these sort of like ideas of just sort of taking what's already on the internet of like John and Gabby and all these people and re-edit in a momentum style and just release it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because it's almost like you have to cluster how much information is out there to then it's like, I don't want to say repackaging it, but like you have to allow people to know that it can be found in one spot, kind of a thing.
That's right. Sort of making like a 3-minute super section from like all of John's clips that he released last year, and all, and just sort of approach it in the old school way. I think it'd be fun to watch, and sort of compare who would have the best section of all those.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to do it, so maybe someone out there could do that.
Well, who knows? Maybe this echoes forward. You're like the Wizard of Oz, like, okay, here we go.
Well, that's what Intersection was sort of based off of, that same idea. Yeah.
So to bring it to today, because we still haven't announced the second movie, and I have to preface what you're going to say, because when I sent you all those videos, in my head I was thinking so many different options would have come out. Like I would have gone Momentum 1 versus 2, but I just love how you had these two, and then that actually almost speaks to the evolution of yourself as a cinematographer.
Yeah. Just to set it up a little bit, this is sort of during the peak of surf film sort of distribution and like demand. It's towards the end of the 90s and right going into 2000s. And so, a Poor Specimen was making a lot of different things at that time. We were making drive-thrus and we were making loose change. And I think we were working on probably art at that time, and just sort of like we were making a lot of different variety of films at the same time, and we had a full production house, and we were just like, I feel like in a really good rhythm of things. And so should I?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Let us know.
And then Chris Malloy came to me with the idea of working on a film called Shelter, and so Shelter was a throwback in style and just purpose of it. So it was fun to sort of be like making Loose Change and Shelter in the same sort of universe.
Well, even the crew that you have in both is diverse. I mean, was that the first time you'd work with Joel Tudor on a film?
Yeah, that was the first time. We made a poster and we painted it of like a crew of 5 people that were supposed to star in it. It was Dan, Joel, I think it was Mick Fanning, but I know it was Dave Rostovich, and he didn't end up wanting to do it. Yeah, which is a bummer. He would have been great for it. And someone else, but it was like Rob, and it was like the posters, like, we couldn't use it because we didn't have those people in it. So,
You just cut and paste like another head on. You're like, actually, here you are.
Yeah. But the idea was just it, like getting that farmhouse and sort of like really treating it like how they used to make surf films in the 70s, and like make a lot of our own music and shape boards there, and just sort of like vibe off the environment and that area, which is my favorite. I fell in love with it so much I moved there.
Oh, so. Heck yeah. I'll just settle right here, actually. I'm just see you guys.
Yeah. That area, like, I lived there for like 6 years and loved it.
It's funny that you mentioned the music, because I think it's John Swift, right? Has this song in Shelter, and there was never any guitar tabs online for that. So I had to like sit there, and somehow it could have been the beginning of learning how to play music by ear, where you're like, oh, I really want to know this, because that song is insane. But I mean, basically, I feel like a lot of your movies, like for yourself and Poor Specimens, like you have the Blink-182 connection, you have a lot of music. Actually, is G-Love a lot? Am I correct with that one?
Yeah, G-Love was in a mission film we did. Can't remember the name of it, but yeah, we used only G-Love for the whole soundtrack.
Oh, sick!
Yeah, wow. I'll find you. I think it's called 8. Yeah.
No, 8. That's the one. That's Foster. That's
Yeah.
Oh, it is 8. Oh my gosh. No, yeah, with all the guys. Shano, Ross, Dan's on that one. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have that, actually. We could play that on a later date.
Yeah. So yeah, that's when we just shot down in Foster for 8 days. Yeah. But that's sorry, I have too many like surfs.
Dude, you're a vault. But what about you? You said to ask about Beck. There's like some sort of connection.
So Beck, I used Beck in Loose Change for Rob's section, and Rob somehow like connected the dots to, I think, Shelby and a friend of ours, and then she got the rights to it, or Justine, somebody like that. But Beck was always like a huge influence. Me and Rob would just listen to it on all of our travels. Like, I traveled with Rob through those early years, and we just listened to it a lot. But I just loved the way that he changed his styles of music each album.
Yeah.
And so that was like a reference for me to sort of like push myself to not just make Momentum 30, and really just sort of like change styles as much as possible to just improve and have something fresh.
Along the course, what do you think was the hardest, evolution or change? Like going from, Loose Change and Shelter, you were saying that those kind of launched the similar time. Are we paused? Oh, no.
Yeah, I was just getting a call, sorry. It was actually Rob. I should have brought him in.
What? Let's go Zoom. No, so...
Yeah, it's, I would say Sipping Jet Streams was a tough one because it was like a pretty far departure, where Shelter, I had the luxury of having a co-director with it. And so, like, having Chris Malloy on there, like, liberated me to sort of, like, change styles, and then it's sort of like a collaboration where it's not just my name on it.
That's rad. Actually, it kind of brings me... I don't ever want to end this, but I do like to ask if you had a reference for us or me here in my room at the Outreach to reach out to pick their brain on a movie that they made, who would you say?
Yeah. Well, there's too many. I would say Chris Malloy and Thicker Than Water would be cool to sort of like tap into if you haven't done that.
And why that one specifically? Because Chris, didn't he do One Track Mind, Thicker Than Water?
Did. Well, Thicker Than Water was his first one, and and the three people working on it was super interesting. It was Jack Johnson, Emmett Malloy, and Chris all did it together, and what's interesting for it is like that's where it broke Jack's music. Like, Jack's music was first used in that, and he was afraid to share it at the time, and so that sort of made his music career.
Whoa!
It got Emmett connected with Jack Johnson, and then they had this great career together. But it also got Emmett making films, which he worked on September Sessions and all these other ones. And then for me and Chris, it started Shelter. So it's like sort of like a gateway into sort of going back to film.
Holy cow, that's a full pivot movie.
Yeah, so So that one's an interesting one because it's also a tougher one. They didn't know what they're getting into. They made a book with it as well, and it was just sort of like this big project that they had no idea.
Dude, thanks for the heads up. It's interesting because September Session says on it, like, I believe it says like some maybe directed by Jack Johnson, but then Thicker Than Water is Jack Johnson and the Malloys. And I was like, oh wow, I wondered on that sort of aspect if they were working together or did Jack take the reins on September Sessions?
Jack shot all September Sessions, and so he pretty much directed it, and then Emmett edited it, and so that was sort of his own branch off from that. And then Thicker Than Water, Chris took a lot. It was his idea. He shot most of it, directed all the visuals. But then the edit room, Emmett edited it, and Chris worked on a book, and Jack scored it. So it had this cool little like team thing going.
It's like, hey, why don't we just do this right here, right now? Let's just make this thing happen.
Exactly. So yeah, that was back when it was called Moonshine, and Moonshine was doing some really cool stuff back then.
Rad. Hey, well, thank you so much. Are there any, I guess, words on? I mean, which one should we play first, even?
Probably Loose Change. It's sort of, Loose Change. But that one's fun.
I mean, do you have any moments in Loose Change that just stick out acting-wise to you?
Well, let me set up Loose Change a little bit more if we have time.
Yes. Hey, please, we could do this for 16 hours today if you want.
So here's Loose Change. Loose Change was like this idea that I started working with Brendan and working on the script and coming up with the idea for it. When we went to go shoot the skits, I've never done like a proper production. So we just walked around and walked into the people in Encinitas would be like, the 7-Eleven in Encinitas would be like, sure.
What?
And they're like, just like, we just shot it and did all the scenes with no permission. The bar, we walked into the saloon and asked the bartender, it was like a Tuesday in February, and we're like, can we film the thing here? We'll be done in a couple hours. He's like, sure, it's quiet. And then
wait, you guys do the entire bar blowout scene, and you're saying you just rocked up on that?
We rocked up that day and asked them that day.
Oh, that's heavy.
So all of Encinitas sort of said yes without even thinking about it. And next thing you know, we're like bar fights and all these things going on and like drive-throughs. All of that was just with no real pre-planning. We just sort of had our gear, we had the idea, and we just walked up and started doing it.
I always was curious how the roles got picked because, of course, I loved Shane Dorian being the bartender. Was so fly. When Dan Malloy comes up and he's just like, "What's up, Slick?" So good.
Yeah, Dan was super nervous. I think he had 1,000 takes to get his couple lines. He did not like being that sort of suave guy.
That's in the credits as well. That's after the movie.
Yeah, but Shane was super into it. I think that's right around the time of In God's Hands, or close to that. And so he went home and practiced how to juggle and do bartender tricks. And he was prepping for it. Kelly was just so with Kelly, we rented a BMW, I think, or something like that. And when Rob does this scene where he gets hit at the end and he jumps over the car, and we had a mattress on the ground, and he jumped on the mattress, and the bike's supposed to stop and someone's supposed to grab it, but it didn't stop, and it just fully dinged this expensive car. And so Tom Rulon didn't return the car. We just extended the rental day for a couple more days, and he had someone fix it. He took it to a mechanic.
Oh, black market
or
fix?
A detail person. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So there's so many. Tim Curran, I thought you mentioned Tim Curran. I just sort of picked roles that I felt were believable for these guys a little bit, and then also what I thought they could pull off acting wise.
But I mean, then you picked Benji Weatherly as a police officer, which was mind blowing.
Yeah, well, so the thing is with it, we picked a lot of the roles before we shot any of this surfing. So Chris Ward's in it, and I was hoping to get a lot of stuff with Chris Ward that year, but we never ended up filming. I don't know why. He just had lost crew. He filmed with them, and we never got footage. And then there's a bunch of people that maybe have cameos that don't have a lot of clips.
Yeah.
But the idea was they were going to have clips.
That's like Barney, actually, in that scene.
Well.
That would have been so incredible to have a Barney section.
So, like, back then, the short films were a little bit more like Santa Cruz had their films, San Clemente had their films, and we had our films, Momentum one with the same crew of people. And then Australia was starting to do their stuff, but it was very cliquey. And with Loose Change, I was trying to expand it and sort of like include more people. It didn't work out as far as filming more. It was harder than I thought to get the clips, but the idea was to sort of expand that circle.
That's cool, because that was a big question. Dylan Graves wanted me to ask you, with that in Loose Change was Bruce Irons section, which was super, super impactful. Was that that sounds like that would be like you expanding the crew right there.
Yeah, well, like I always wanted to have like the new up and comers like Taj and Bruce, and so like there's certain guys that are just like they're just icons, and they'll be icons, and so those sort of like go beyond like Santa Cruz and San Clemente and sort of our like, so Bruce was like he was like super. Everybody knew he was going to be famous. I actually have clips of him from filming in Momentum days when he's like 10 at AUCAI, just sort of like doing stuff.
Oh my
Some raw
gosh.
footage that I found recently. But him and Andy, they're like sort of fighting in the short break. But
well, I mean, talking about kid styles, there's I think it's called Youthful Energy. It's Astrodeck video, and they have footage of Bruce when he's a young kid like that, and his style was so good.
Yeah, it was so good. I forgot what I was going to say, but Bruce's section was a boat trip, pretty much one boat trip that was with Kalani. It was a Transworld trip. I was doing a lot of stuff with Transworld magazine, and we worked together to set up this sort of like, Transworld was always a younger crew, and so it was like a trip with like Saxon, Bruce, Kalani, I think Dan Malloy, and like Blair set it up. So it was sort of a DC trip for the most part. But yeah, so.
Did you have any hands in Dude Cruise? Speaking of DC.
Not really. Like it was edited at sort of my place, but I didn't really. It was Bashane and those guys, but I wasn't really hands on it. But I heard all the stories, and I like it was pretty reckless. It was Greg Browning filmed it, Matt Bashane filmed it, and then Matt did all the editing on that.
So then, who was under the Poor Specimen, or did guys? It almost sounds like people came and went, but the Poor Specimen's crew to celebrate the names.
Well, like Matt Bashane and Joe G were both interns when they came in, and they both Joe was doing sales, and he would call surf shops, and then he started like sitting in the edit bay, and then started doing a little bit more from that. So Joe G, Matt Bashane was he just broke his arm. He was going to be a pitcher and for the major league, and he broke his arm really bad, and so then he switched to making films, and he was an intern. He was like 16 when he came in, and then Kai Neville, and let's see, there's those are sort of the more iconic ones, but there's been like a bunch of crew that come through. Like basically, like my advice to filmmakers is like treat filmmaking as almost like a college, and just go intern for somebody you really respect and like learn from that. And if you're good and work hard, they'll give you a job, and that's how all those guys got jobs.
Do you feel like you still have that same mentality now with where you're at, or does it change when you get to your level? In the sense of learning, I would say, not like
I would
trying to
say you should always have like a learning mentality and sort of want to learn, and also like think that your best years are ahead of you. I think like that's sort of the way to stay young, is to sort of be excited about the future and be really fired up to sort of improve.
Dude,
so for me, that's like my mentality with everything.
That's insane. Do you have anything in the works right now that you're really pumped on?
I have this National Geographic thing I'm working with Mick Fanning on that's on sharks.
Wow.
And And so we went diving with tiger sharks with no cages and great hammerheads, and then we went with the great whites down in South Australia with cages. But it's going to be really cool, I think. Like, it's because like Mick really like goes through his whole emotional journey through it all, and really like is vulnerable, and it just goes for it. And then me and him have a pact after doing this film called Missing, that if I'm going to put him in a crazy situation, I have to do it as well.
Sick.
So like,
yes,
we went running with the bulls in you know, like Papalona, and then we went to Rwanda with the silverback. So we both were in the mix there. And so when this project came up, I knew we wanted to swim with tiger sharks. So I had to get certified myself to do it as well.
So was it psycho scary?
The tiger sharks, we had 5 huge, like, you know, 15-foot tiger sharks around us at once, and they were just coming in from every direction, and we were like pushing them off with sticks. They're slow motion, so it's not super intense. They're not like a great white, they have a lot more speed and velocity, but they were coming in, and if you didn't poke them away, then they would come at you. So
are you
these
kidding
are
me?
massive. These are like as big as the sharks that he got attacked by. So like for him, it was very therapeutic to be dealing with that.
Almost cathartic. And how about for you with, because did you bring a camera? I heard that they get sensitive with electronics in the water. True or false?
There was 2 camera people there. I was there for moral support for Mick, but also just sort of like helping be security for one of our camera woman that was like doing the water, the second angle.
Wow, that's badass. Holy cow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a fun project. And then like I always like play around with doing another surf film, but I don't have one right now that I'm like.
Well, that's cool.
That I can talk about.
Standing by, I mean, you got your hands full there. That's incredible, though. National Geographic, that's like top level.
Yeah. This is our second one. It's called Save This Shark. We did one to Save This Rhino, and it's about sort of like if you save these like keystone animals, it saves a wider range. So if you save 100 animals, you'll save them all. So it's that sort of mentality.
And that's because everything is affecting everything else?
That's right.
Dude. And
sharks are sort of the canary in the coal mine when it comes to reefs and ocean conditions. So it's good in that sense.
How sick is, like, for you, going from Seaside and Beyond to just swimming with 15 footers, mate, with basically Mick Fanning's like Crocodile Dundee nowadays. It's like...
I know, he's awesome. He's awesome.
That's mental.
Yeah, no, it's like that's sort of what I think I would have made a lot more money if I'd made Momentum 30. But like the fact that I wanted to just improve my filmmaking and do something different helped me bridge and be ready for anything as a filmmaker.
Dude, so. Momentum 30 though. Jeez Louise, what would the soundtrack on that bad boy be?
I don't know.
That's amazing. Oh man, hey. Taylor, thank you so much, dude. This is so rad. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, let's do it again. Maybe 2 other ones down the road.
Oh, absolutely. You call them up. We'll dial it in.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Enjoy, guys.
Have a great day.
You too. See ya.
Late. Well, okay, that was a bit of a big legend send right there. Come on. It's all happening. It is all happening. Taylor Steele was fired up right there. That's what we learned. That is exactly what we learned. Okay, I'm going to dial it in. And I'm going to probably do it after I'm not with my big head in front of it. Okay, so here we go. Loose change. The surfing world is long overdue for a change.